So we sent our local anime hater Christian to Japan to get cultured.
I'm in Japan.
Because it's just me and Adrian here, I thought we might as well bring back good anime you can't watch in public with live reactions from Christian in Japan.
I'm in Japan.
For those of you new to the series, it's where I give you a list of my personal anime recommendations that I think are pretty damn good, but you shouldn't watch them in public. Mostly because the content that you'll be seeing is going to get you incredibly judged by peers and passerby. So you're welcome. Watch this at home. And because this is a refresh of this series, I'll be giving you actually good anime, not just trash. I promise these are actually good recs. Fight me if you don't like them. And just to spice things up even more, I'll be adding a don't watch in public rating to each title I list. Let's see how bad it gets. So for my first rec, if you want to see a really good anime where a kid gets groomed 5 times, bro, I got you. First up is Chainsaw Man. Chainsaw Man revolves around the titular Chainsaw Man. But before he was that, homeboy was just Denji, a young teen who lives a life of extreme poverty and debt. Like it's gonna cost an arm and a leg poor, and then there's gonna cost an eyeball and a nut poor. If you look at this picture of him, it is pretty obvious to see which one Denji is. It's the nut one. Does he get the nut back when he
Actually, that's a good question because he
gets his eye back, right? So he has to get the nut back.
Yeah, I think, okay. He just grows
You can't be that
back.
horny and only have one nut. So to make ends meet and repay his deceased father's debt, he hunts devils with his pet devil, Pochita. And honestly, it's pretty badass. Guy with the eye patch and a living chainsaw carving up devils. Denji really got that dog in him, especially when he's killed by the mob, in which for him to live, he literally had to have that dog in him. Pochita merges with Denji's heart in exchange for the simple promise that Denji lives a normal life. But there isn't anything normal about Denji's life in the slightest, and that's why you can't watch this one in public. So Denji is then recruited by Makima and the Groomers Association, public safety devil hunters, and begins a life of exterminating devils. Now, the appeal of Denji, I think, is his simplicity. Unlike most common protagonists, my man ain't trying to become the strongest or avenge his clan or whatever. My boy wants 3 things: a bed, bread with jam, and booby. And that's not even me making a euphemism for sex. Like, nah, he literally just wants to feel a boob once, and then he's good. He's set after that. Now, the good about Chainsaw Man is that it's absolutely beautiful. Mappa went all in on this one, and it shows. The animation is so good that it runs back around to being ugly for some.
I think animation-wise, it's good, but I think character design-wise, it's weird.
But beyond that, what makes Chainsaw Man shine is how it touches on the complexities of the drives of revenge, platonic love, desire at the expense of your own autonomy, and more as Denji grapples with his own identity as a devil-human hybrid. I don't be talking all smart like that on third. I like that, actually. The story delves deep into themes of what it means to be human, the nature of desires, and the gray area between good and evil. Much like how the Devil Hunters Association are supposed to be the good guys, but all the women in it keep trying to or kill Denji, the child. He's a kid.
People in the comments be like, well, you don't actually know his age.
He's a teen at best. There's Power, right? Who's a blood fiend. Or a devil essentially puppeting a human's body. She promises that if Denji saves her cat, he'll let him, Copperfield, a little squeeze. And of course, that's one of Homeboy's 3 goals. He jumps at the chance. And after her basically trying to kill him here and there, whatever, it does happen. It literally happens. Throw up the cop in the field scene for me. Censor that joint too, especially when he get a little grippy. But what's even more impressive is that this scene is beautifully used to drive Denji's character motivations more, as he feels disappointed by the lack of emotion and also the lack of boob. She's wearing a bra pad. So he confronts Makima about this, and she not only lets him cop a feel of her own, pressing his hand on that joint and everything. Oh my God. My man convulsed like he was having a heart attack on the floor. I've fallen and I can't get up type beat. And there are other questionable women in the association, like Himeno, who is probably my favorite predator.
Oh my God.
But she should be put in jail. What do I mean? During a mission where they first meet, Denji mentions his love for Makima, and to tempt him, Himeno says,
じゃあデンジ君が悪魔を倒したらベロ入れたキスしてあげる
My man switched up real quick. He said, who's Makima? So after shenanigans ensue, during a celebratory night out, homegirl throws up in Denji's mouth. He's a minor. That scene is disgusting. Send that one to Christian. Send that one to Christian for me. But what's even nuttier though is Mans is so down bad that he still ends up back at her spot. It's crazy because there's a scene where he's laying in bed, homeboy's eyes are blinking up, and she's getting on top of him. I gotta admit, that is the most beautifully animated statutory I've ever seen in my entire life. It's like when the porn is shot in 8K super high definition with the 3D glasses they gave it the Spy Kids movies. But literally though, but not only like is it shot in 8K, but you were caught in 8K. Put up on the screen the image of the dude with the big camera. Like, they caught her in 65,535. He's a minor. Like, even for this scene, which hits especially hard into English, play what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about.
Wanna do it?
Do what? Mommy. I mean, deplorable. How could you? It's under the jail. But despite all of that, I promise it plays out as a really well thought out character piece, full of dark moments, comedy, and substance balanced so well that you really can't believe it. It's a departure from the typical shonen formula, both in theming and content, and I love it. What would our rating be on this one, Adrian?
Let's see. The POV, you're getting statutory.
Because it doesn't happen that often. Let's give it a 7.
Even the vomit scene alone is just like,
vomit
oof.
scene alone is crazy. I didn't even talk about the gore, but 7 out of 10 on the don't watch in public scale. Speaking of the normal grooming, clean yourself up with clothes instead of minors. Dress up, darling.
No, they're both minors.
Basic premise. Wakana Gojo, a boy that likes making clothes for dolls for a living, meets Marin Kitagawa, a girl that likes to cosplay, but can't make cosplays. Well, she can, but she sucks at that. And one day after a fateful meeting between the two, Marin basically commissions Homeboy to make clothes for her so that she can take part in cosplay conventions. It sounds really wholesome, right? Right? Did I mention that Marin like really loves Eroge? We'll get there. While most anime wouldn't get into the nitty gritty details of the things they're talking about, My Dress Up Darling takes you through as much of the cosplay making process as it can, from the initial characters and material research to measurements up until the fit is actually complete. One of my favorite scenes is them setting up and making a wig and explaining the process of how that wig gets made and how it can work and stick. I always wonder, because I got cosplay homies that be rocking that shit from like a bundle of hair to an actual pressed perm. Like, I don't understand. While watching the show, you can actually feel like you're learning the intricacies of making cosplay and how to build up your cosplay brand online, all while appreciating the wholesome, growing relationship between our two main characters. Gojo was traumatized as a kid for liking the things he likes, so it's nice seeing Marin uplift them. Now, what makes this difficult to watch in public, despite all the wholesomeness we just described, is the rest of the show, every other part of the show. So a word our more experienced anime fans might know is the term sakuga. And if you didn't know, it means when the animation is animated fluidly for particular scenes, just beautifully. It's a staple of anime, especially for big budget ones. And it's not really common for simple romances like this to get sakuga. But man, all I'll say is there's a reason I'm mentioning sakuga now during the why this is wild section and not the things I like about it section, as every piece of sakuga in this joint is booby. In fact, I gotta talk about this. This whole entire scene is wild. If your Twitter timeline is as cursed as mine, you've probably seen it. Marin is completely on board with working with Gojo and pulls up to his house to get measured for cosplays, which leads to her breaking out in a swimsuit and just letting it all hang out completely out. And dude, it's kind of crazy. They are measuring everything.
Oh no!
like what size you wear everything. But what's even crazier is how often this stuff switches from super cute to boobs. Both of the main characters are having a cute little talky talk that's building character amongst themselves, developing their relationship on a little stairwell. And then just, hey yo!
Oh my god, when she's sweating?
Homegirl needed a towel. That was pooling. Oh my god. What's going on in there? That much moisture is developing. The main selling point of this anime is why you can't watch it in public. Clearly, unfortunately, this isn't limited to Marin. There are actually more characters that Gojo ends up working with, and the worst part, they're all in high school or below. So I want y'all to take a look at this picture here and guess which one of them is in middle school. Wrong! It's this girl!
Honestly, I don't get why they had to set this in high school.
I hate when they do that shit. I hate when they do that shit. I'm sweating and my AC is on. This is crazy. At one point, they animate a bulge. I don't know a single anime that has actively shown cock.
No!
Not even redo of heel. Actually, they did for that one smudge frame. Actually. Also, I did see cock in
No, don't count the times you've seen
also,
it.
I did see one during Combatants Will Be Dispatched. That was surprising. To reel it all in, because I know I'm wilding out on this show. Something I appreciate about it is the fact that it's bigger than the classic protagonist gets the girl for being the protagonist. Like, you can actually see the through line as to why Marin starts to like Gojo. And it's incredibly cute and, oddly enough, believable, which makes me sad and lonely. And that's how I get the vibe that it's a good anime. You shouldn't watch in public. Having recapped it, this is worse than Chainsaw Man. That is an 8 for me.
Now going to middle school.
Yeah, now we're in middle school. Anyway, they're in high school, which is bad. Anyways, the next one, they're in middle school. The next show is one for all the insomniacs, Call of the Night. The show follows Ko Yamori, a kid recently afflicted with insomnia who apparently has no parents. Bored with his life, he decides to take it to the streets at night. Again, where are your parents? And on the first night out, he runs into a mysterious woman, Nazuna, who lures him into her place by offering to help with his sleep issues. Where the f are your parents? But I guess it makes sense because she's hot. I probably would have got abducted too if I had no parents. Where are his parents though? Like I don't know. It's alluded that they're there because he's sneaking out of the house.
Oh yeah, you're right.
After taking Ko to a secondary location like any kidnapper does, Nazuna does put Ko to sleep and immediately bites him on the neck because woman is a vampire. Unfortunately, is not the worst thing she could have been in that situation, you know? And according to Nazuna, apparently Ko tastes so good.
It's worse because I'm remembering the one scene where he meets up with like her 4 buddies and they're all like, oh, that's Nazuna's type.
Child. Child. Ko, resigned of his life of being a human, decides he wants to be a vampire like Nazuna. I mean, he ain't got no parents, so what he got left? But in order to do that, he has to fall in love with her. Knowing everything we know, a good alternative title to this would be Call the Groomer, because that's a middle schooler, dog. Start seeing a few patterns with these shows. It's even more unfortunate because even the hot older character is hitting on this kid. She's so bad too. Homegirl smoking cigarettes.
She's the detective. And she should be investigating herself.
Yeah, you investigate yourself, bitch. Like, oh my God. But you investigate some men your age. Now, if I excuse the vampire grooming, don't bite that. Don't clip that out of context. The vibes are immaculate. The show does an incredible job at showing the nightlife atmosphere, and it kind of makes you want to be someone out at 3 a.m. just walking across the Japan town.
Oh, and they play like city pop.
It adds to the atmosphere to a degree that creates a tone in a show that I don't see a lot of. But even outside of the vibes of the show, the characters have some pretty interesting conflicts. Ko doesn't really understand what love is. He is a middle schooler, but it leaves the show the chance to explore what that really means. And I think it's done in a really fun way. The relationship dynamics are surprisingly complex, not only between Nazuna and Ko, but a lot of the other cast as well. But I'll be real, the show is on the list for another reason beyond the grooming allegations. Nazuna herself. Her fit, bro. Not only that, but the way she interacts with Ko throughout the show can be suspect to anyone watching over your shoulder. For example, Nazuna has this weird quirk where she's very weird about talking on topics of love. Like she gets all weird and squirmy and she can't do it, you know, it's so cute. But she totally fine talking about dick though.
人間はまぐわうことでしか眷属作れないし。
まぐわとか言うな!
Which I'd like to also point out in this show, to vampires, sex is adjacent to feeding. So in the vampire world, Nazuna should be doing hard jail time, bro. But all that being said, the show does have a lot of heart and style. And when you boil everything down, it's a show about Ko rediscovering what makes life fun. And it hits hard. Yeah, so what do we want to give this one?
I think the 5 out of 10 is fine.
I agree.
Yeah, it doesn't really show much. It's just Nazuna in a swimsuit, basically.
Yeah, and she's always like that at all times. But the show's vibes are really good.
You won't get judged as bad as watching the other two.
Until they ask you, how old are those kids? Like, oh, well, she's 400 and he's 14. What? While we're here, I want to shout out another series by the same author, Dagashi Kashi, which is about a small Japanese snack shop. It isn't nearly as deep as Call of the Night, but it's a fun time since you learn about new Japanese snacks in every episode. And with that, I'll leave you with the milk scene.
待って、それやっぱり蛍さん、さっきからずっと手で持ちっぱなしだったから。
なるほど。
It's so viscous. Throw that milk away, dude. Throw the milk away. Why is it that thick? All right, yeah, they made it that thick so it looks like cum. All right, next up, moving on from Call of the Night to Night City, we've got Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now listen, I don't know about Cyberpunk 2077, okay? I knew that was hot garbage when it first released, and that's about it.
Please, accept my apologies for the confusion.
So when they announced that an anime was going to be taking place in the Cyberpunk universe, I really wasn't expecting much from Edgerunners. Needless to say, I did not expect for one of my potential anime of the year to be the same show that casually had a dude getting his dick hyper sucked by a piston engine casually. But here we are.
Is it the one? Yeah, it's the one with the guy, the fat dude just getting it sucked, right?
Bro, he be just on the porch. Just if y'all on Twitter like that, there's like sometimes in the viral tweets, you'll see people promoting. I swear I saw someone promoting that exact same super soaker sucker. For those of you not in the know, Edgerunners is a prequel to 2077. The story focuses on David, a student at Arasaka Academy who's bullied because of his low income. He finds himself entangled in a web of criminal activity after his mom dies, and he encounters Lucy, a woman who's part of a mercenary group led by Maine. How old is David?
I think at the start he's 16.
He's like 7. He's like 16, 17, bro. Why is this the theme? I am seeing a common theme here. What's great about Edgerunners is that you don't really need to know anything about Cyberpunk to get it. Edgerunners does a great job of presenting its world. From the setting of Night City, important characters, the factions, and concepts such as body modifications, cyberpunks, and cyberpsychosis. The cast and everything is absolutely incredible. Like, even one of the big bads, Faraday, is played by Giancarlo Esposito. You know I'm always down to get mentally manipulated by Gus Fring, bro. With the mercenary group being at the center of the show, Edgerunners has a ton of high adrenaline action scenes and a lot of gore, like a lot of gore. So that part might be a bit tough for the public viewing, but what really pushes it over the edge is the nudity. There is a lot. Everybody just gets naked for some reason, often at random. It is always when you least expect it. Not to mention, during the show's development, there was a controversy at a point about one of its characters, Rebecca, the literal lolly-looking girl. Believe it or not, she was not pitched with the original script, but Trigger actually requested the ad, and Trigger be making some questionable decisions. But this one wasn't. Despite everything, she is one of my favorite characters, if not my favorite character. She also jerks off a dude within the first, 20 seconds of her being on screen. So. Regardless, the show is amazing. It touches on some themes that go deeper than you'd initially expect, and it hits heartstrings you don't initially think it would. Like, if you want to see one of the most realistic depictions of an anxiety attack, watch me watching episode 10. I was crying. My dick was crying. It's good. It's a good show. Anyways, what we giving this? The nudity QTEs that you have to deal with is enough, I think, to give it a decent, I kind of want to say like a 7.5.
I'm good with a 7.5.
All right, so for the last one, I'm gonna switch it up a bit. I feel like we covered enough of the main character getting groomed. I'm kind of tired of that. It's exhausting. So we're gonna switch it to the main character doing the grooming. This is Mushoku Tensei, baby. It's a really good show, though, I promise. So, Mushoku Tensei follows the life of the 34-year-old NEET, who was evicted from his house following the death of his parents. Apparently, that runs in the family because he runs into traffic and also dies, albeit heroically saving a student, but whatever. I did not know that NEET meant not in education, employment, or training. I had no idea that's what that meant.
I found that out when I watched this one show called Eden of the East. Great show, by the way. Main character is naked in the first episode.
Incredible. Now, obviously, that's not the end of his story, as when he wakes up, his eyes open to heaven, or at least what it would be for a 34-year-old virgin, a titty in his mouth. Yes, man has gotten reborn, quite literally born. Like this starts with homeboy 20 seconds steaming out the oven like an isekai pizza roll at the beginning is kind of crazy. We're starting right like fresh out the...
God, not gonna lie though, the mom is pretty.
The mom's bad as hell, bro. Come to find out, he's been reincarnated as Rudius Greyrat, which really is heaven for him because not only is he thrust into his dream world of swords, elves, and magic, but also a world where he didn't do all that weird shit, like not go to his parents' funeral so he could masturbate. I feel like it alluded to him watching some crazy shit too.
Yeah,
I
think it alluded to him watching some like
that's crazy.
Yeah, and like the implication you can tell because they were like, there's normal disappointment, and then there's
they beat his ass.
Yeah.
They beat his ass when they saw him, bro. Anyways, with his memories and regrets from his previous life intact, Rudius decides to make the most of his new life as we follow him on a genuinely heartfelt, impactful journey where he vows not to repeat the mistakes of his past. But what makes this an anime you can't watch in public is that the whole not repeating the mistakes of the past is less of a, yo, I'm trying to be a better person, I'm not gonna do that shit again. It's more of a, I'm gonna not do that shit again, but it's gonna be different bad shit. You know what I mean? He makes a lot of mistakes, a lot of horny ones. Like trying to hook up with his childhood friend who is a child and he's 40, or trying to get with his cousin who is a cousin and he's 40. Man, why we do this? I get what Christian's talking about now that I'm like saying this out loud. But not only with Rudius, the show itself is like insanely horny, all of its own volition. In season 1, they have a maid that lives with them in their house, and she happens to be listening to his parents having sex. And what's crazy about anime is that usually when you hear sex noises, it's a joke, like the ice cream clip that we played for Christian during the one episode that shall never be heard from unless you're on our Patreon. But this time, it's the real deal. Like, no, this is it. He also has a mentor named Roxy, who is, according to the show's description, a lolly. She lives with them, teaching Rudius, and she listens to them having sex, and she's masturbating. Man, I would expect you to do it if you were out in public, but use the headphones for that joint, I think. Like, there will be a casual scene of some of the most beautiful animation, story, and plot ever, and then, bam, there's just someone getting like crazy. In fact, just for the sake of it, I went to peep episode 1 proper, of season 2. Says I have not seen it yet. I will not spoil what happens exactly, but verbatim, with very serious music and a very intense plot-driven character moment, Rudius cries into a pair of panties. Like, this is not a joke. This is a huge moment for his character development. And it's up because it worked. Having said all that, it is one of the best shows out. Not for the sex stuff, I promise. It looks beautiful. The directing in this is genuinely immaculate, especially if you compare it to the manga. And hands down, one of the best shows on this list. You might even cry. Hopefully you use something a lot more practical to cry into, though. I think it goes without being said, 10 out of 10 on the don't watch it public scale, bro. I'd even put it up, don't watch it in the living room. Today, I was watching that joint in the living room, and then you just hear, and then I hear Mads go, oh, it might. And I told him, I was like, Mads, come here, you got to see this. He's like, oh, that's enough. Like, every day I'm like, every day I pray we don't have to do this shit ever again. But this was the 8th. We got to at least hit a 10. But we're only doing it if y'all really like this episode. So let us know in the comments if there's some more good anime that you can't watch in public that are current. Because we've covered a lot of the stuff from the past. We're looking for actually good anime that have been airing over the last 3 or so years.
And if anything, let us know if you like this format. You know, we don't really do scripted content on this channel. We do more react-ish type stuff.
Yeah, let us know if you want to see more scripted content, or if you want to see a good anime you can't watch in public.
And we'll see you on the streets.
Ain't no way.
What the hell was that?
And of course, shout out to all our patrons, especially the big boy in the waves here, Drew Warnes. Much love. We'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.